Hi there. Welcome to Full Spectrum Podcast. I am the Q Voice. In today's episode, we will be looking at the role of family and community support in inclusive allyship. And to do justice to this very topic is no other person than the perfect person for this role. Please help me welcome Elizabeth Williams. She is an SRHR expert, very good at what she does. So Elizabeth, it's nice having you here.
It's nice to be here.
You know, when I saw that, we're having Elizabeth today, I'm like, this is good because I'm going to be having not like a conversation, but we're going to be like gisting, and that's what I was expecting. So how are you?
Fine, doing really well. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you. How's Lagos been?
Hot, stressful, traffic. We're surviving.
Abby, we have to survive.
Yes.
Okay, so you do a lot of work around SRHR, and so this means that you have to deal with everybody. Like our podcast says full spectrum, so you deal with like the whole full spectrum of people. And so how has it been providing services for these communities that you provide for?
Yes, so it's been an amazing and challenging past couple of years working within the SRHR space. But I must say that, sexual reproductive health and rights, which simply means the complete state of well-being, when it comes to your physical, your mental, your emotional well-being, and not just the mere absence of, not having diseases, is really important and crucial, particularly for the target group that I work with, which are, adolescents, young people, as well as marginalized groups, right? The key populations, LGBTQI plus persons, right? Because these persons do have peculiar SRHR needs. Right? Think back to when you were a young person or when you're an adolescent. You wanted to explore, when they tell you don't do this, that's when you want to actually
that's when you want to do it.
That's when you actually want to do it, right? And of course we have seen that even NDHS, which is a National Demographic Health Survey, says that the age of sexual debut is 15. Which means that at the age of 15.
Wait, I'm trying to think. 15. No, I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, we'll leave that for another day. But actually, it's quite concerning. That at the age of 15, a lot of adolescents, are already engaging in sex. They're already sexually active.
True.
Right? So it just goes to show how important SRHR is, because we can't just leave them to be engaged in sexual activities, right? And that's why we need to give them important information, comprehensive sexuality education, as well as access to adolescent youth-friendly health services, right? Like contraceptives, family planning. And I must say this, because whenever we talk about sexual reproductive health and rights, people always think it's just about sex. We're educating, young people about sex, but that's not true. If you look at the curriculum, right, we have topics around personal skills, like values, goal setting, self-esteem, right? How to be able to make informed decisions, decision making. How do you set good goals, right, as a young person? We also talk about abstinence. Interestingly, it's in the curriculum, right? We teach young people how to abstain. You say, yes, abstain. You think it's easy? It's not easy. Many of us struggled to abstain when we were younger, right? And it hasn't changed. And it is not going to change.
No.
So how do you say no to sex? How do you refuse sex, right? That's a skill that you need to teach adolescents and young people, empower them with. So I must just say that it's just been a great time. I've learned a lot, from young people themselves, right? Because it's a learning process as well. We don't just only engage with them, but we also learn from them, right? And see how we can better support them. So, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about, the supports for LGBTQI plus persons, especially when it comes to family support and their community. Yeah. We know it's really been a challenge for LGBTQI plus persons to thrive in an environment where they're not supported. And especially when it comes to SRHR too, we know that there are certain kind of violations that they face when it comes to providing services for this set of persons, LGBTQI plus persons in particular. So what do you feel that family support should look like? What do you feel like community support and family support should look like?
Yeah, so absolutely, I agree with you 100% that LGBTIQ plus persons, face double discrimination, right, when it comes to accessing sexual reproductive health and rights information and services. Of course, it stems from the fact that, number one, we don't have a very positive policy environment, for this group of persons. And just to also say this, right, of course, the policy, which is the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, SSMPA, right, says prohibition of same-sex marriage, right? But if you look at all of our other policies, like our constitution, which is what guides us as a people, right? It clearly states that, you have fundamental human rights, regardless of your sexual orientation. It is there. Go and check it. And what this just simply means is that every right that we have, right to life, right to access to health services, right to education, whatever those rights are, persons who are LGBTQI plus persons also have a right to access all of those, services. And so when an LGBTQI plus person goes to any health facility to access sexual reproductive and career rights services, they have a right to be given those services, regardless of what their sexual orientation is. And I think that's where we've sort of made a huge mistake.
Okay, so let's talk about family support now for the LGBTQI plus persons. We know it's really difficult already in Nigeria to function normally as an LGBTQI plus person. So let's just tell us, what is family support for the LGBTQI plus persons when it comes to living your life as an LGBTQI plus person, as related to gender-based violence too?
Yeah, so as you said, right? Family support is extremely important.
Okay.
And not just to LGBTQI plus persons, but family support is important to everybody. There's no person who doesn't want to have family support.
True.
Whether you are the person who belongs to the LGBTQI plus community or not, right? And this is something that also goes to affect not just only LGBTQI plus persons, but people within other marginalized groups, right? For instance, persons living with HIV, persons with disabilities, persons with mental health conditions. Family support is extremely important. So what exactly is family support? The first thing is love, care, respect. Right? That's the first thing.
Okay.
You need to show love to that person, respect that person, care for that person. And that means eliminating every form of stigma or discrimination. What we've come to see a lot of the time is that for persons who lack family support, they tend to have a lot of negative consequences as well of that.
Sure.
There's a lot of emotional trauma that comes with that. They battle with self-esteem, they have low self-esteem, their confidence level is very, very, very low. Right? Some of them even go as far as having suicidal thoughts.
True.
Just because they lack, family support. It's one thing for you to be stigmatized externally, right? Outside, friends, family. It's different when it comes from the home. It hits differently.
I can imagine.
It hits differently. And that's why a lot of the time, when your friends do things to you outside, or, people maybe you're at your workplace, your colleagues, it hurts, right? It's painful. But it's a whole lot different when it comes from the family front. The family is supposed to be a safe haven for everyone, right, within that family. Whether you are a person who, is LGBTQI plus or not, right? You're supposed to be protected in the family, right? But we've seen a lot of cases, particularly in Nigeria, where families are the first people to even discriminate, stigmatize, and even chase you out of the house.
True.
And what does that do? It puts you at risk, right? Because, for instance, you see that, this person will start to probably go and cohabitate with somebody else, and because you have nowhere else to go, your family has discarded you, they've, sent you out, they've sent you packing, they don't care what happens to you, what does it happen to you. If you're actually going through any form of gender-based violence, for instance, you won't be able to speak out.
True.
You won't be able to go active because your head, you're thinking, where do I run to? Thank you. Like, where do I go to next? Right? If I leave this place, like, where? Do I sleep under the bridge? For some people who, maybe this person is somebody who provides for them financially as well. Right? That's a lot of power that person has over you. Right? And so even if the person is committing certain acts of violation, or discrimination or gender-based violence, you won't necessarily be able to talk or say anything about it.
Right.
Because you need to be financially, empowered, financially okay to be able to do certain things. If you to get an apartment, if you take care of your basic needs and necessities, right, you need that financial income.
True.
Right? But if, for instance, you had good family support, if your boss in the office was abusing you, for instance, right, you could as well say, you know what, I want to resign from this job. I don't want to work here anymore. I have my family to at least soften the blow, provide some form of level of support while I try to find my feet. I try to figure out what next I want to do. For people who lack family support, they don't have that luxury. Unfortunately, they can't do that. And that is a lot. Of course, it is a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
So it means that the community has a lot to do when it comes to family support and community support. Absolutely. Okay, so not to be so far, for Israel we provide safe shelter, and statistics, we know that a lot of persons who have come to our safe shelter has been persons who have been chased out of their houses by their own family. Yeah. But most of the times we try to reunite them. Do you think it's a good thing to actually working towards reuniting these community members with their family to see if their family can actually support them still?
I think to a very large extent, yes. Why? Because Israel, by the way, doing amazing work, providing safe shelter support, to persons within the community. But you also need to understand that this is temporary solution. Mm-hmm. And again, how many persons can you accommodate in the safe shelters? True. Think about it. How sustainable is it? Mm-hmm. Right. And so even for instance, persons who are affected by displacement, right, who have to stay in IDP camps, for instance. Those are most times temporary solutions, right? True. What can we do in the meantime while we are still trying to find a long-lasting solution to that immediate problem, right? And that's what the safe shelters are. Okay, for this period of time, while you're still trying to figure out what next, and your family has chased you out of the house, at least be here, where you feel some sense of safety, some sense of comfort, some sense of protection, right? And then you can strategize as to what you want to do next. But reintegrating, families back together, that's the long-lasting solution. Okay. And of course, a lot of the time, sometimes this comes from ignorance, right? I mean, for me to call myself, an ally of the community now, it did not happen overnight.
Like, I was going to ask that. I
didn't just wake up one morning and said, "Oh, these people, I want to be a supporter of them." And we live in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, people have asked me this, but are you sure you are not?
That's the thing, because for when they see an ally, they'll be like, let's check. If they say this person, they do this thing undercover.
And the funny thing is, fun fact, right? I literally experienced every form of SRHR issue. Why? I program with persons with HIV. They've asked me, do I have HIV? I've done programming for, on FGM, genital mutilation. People have asked me, have you been mutilated? I do programming on gender-based violence. People ask me, are you raped? Because there's this, misconception that you have to go through those things before you can take actions against those things, and, provide some form level of support to that particular social issue or social cause. And I'm like, no, you don't have to die first. Right? You don't have to go through all of it. Nobody should have to go through any of those things in the first place. Right? So why should I have to go through those things first before I actually see that this is something that I have to either support or be against, depending on which stand, right, I want to take. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, right? Coming back to your question, that when it comes to community and family support, it's extremely important. Many of them are ignorant. Many of them don't know. Information is so important.
True.
It's so important. And I know before I, got to really get good information, with regards to the queer community, the issues, challenges that they were facing, right?
Yeah.
My mindset started to change. It's not going to happen overnight. True. It's a gradual process. And it's the same thing to it. These are people who have grown in a very cultural, religious setting, right? Where A is A, B is B. Now you're telling me that A is not always A.
It's A plus.
It's A plus plus plus. And then B is not always B. It's
B raised to power 2.
Are you joking? Are you kidding? I mean, let's even talk about sex in itself. The information we got about sex was, when you start menstruating as a girl, if your body touches you, you will get pregnant. We can't even have those conversations.
True.
Menstruation. I mean, nobody told me about menstruation before I started menstruating as a girl. And this is a life change that is going to happen to every girl.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, discomforts with talking about certain issues within the kind of society that we live in. So I feel like sometimes let's also give families some level of, empathy. That's the word. When you're looking at things from a point of view, don't forget that this other person does not know. And even though it's easy for you to be on your high horse and be like, no, this must be done like this, and this is how it should be done. Also understand that before you got to that point, It took a process. So in the same way too with families, right? And this also extends to siblings as well. Even extended family members, uncles, aunties, cousins. Because when we talk about family, we only think about nuclear parents. The parents are not supporting. But then we forget that they're also siblings. They are cousins, they are aunties, they are uncles, right? And sometimes in most cases where the parents might even be providing support, but external influence from those other parties puts pressure on them to act a certain way. Right? So I think the first thing is we need to, while we're trying to work towards reintegration and bringing family, because the idea is not to separate families or break families apart. We want families to be together. And as I said, family support is extremely important. So we need to provide that level of, knowledge, information, right? That, this is the sexual orientation of, this person. Your child. It's not like this person said they wanted to be like this. It was not forced down their throats. It was not one evil spirit that possessed them. They'll be like, if you come out and be like, where did you learn this from? Exactly. It was not learned. Right. So having to do that reorientation is extremely important, but at the same time understanding that it will not happen overnight. And of course, while you're doing that, look for other alternative measures. Provide capacity building to queer persons themselves, such that you can, have your own financial income to be able to get an apartment for yourself. Right? While you're still trying to get your parents or get your family to be supportive of, your sexual orientation and the new identity that you're taking, for yourself. So I think that's extremely important as well, right? Also building, their autonomy, their capacity, right, to be able to fend for themselves and take care of their own needs themselves. Okay, so I just imagine something. Imagine that I have I'm like the richest person in this world, and then I come out to my family. Oh, daddy, mommy, and I know I provide for my family, like everything you ask for, I give you back to back, even the one you didn't ask for. And then I come out to my family like, oh, I am this. Do you think their reaction would be different from if I do not provide for them at all? There's no yes or no to this question. Because, you cannot predict humans' behavior. You can't predict their response. Of course, to a large extent, for some cases or situations, research has even shown, just even listening to persons within the community share their experiences and their stories, we've come to see a lot of the time that when you're the financial provider of the family, there's this thing with us in Nigeria, like, when it's you that is providing, when they provide, people tend to sometimes excuse certain things that even though they're not comfortable with, they're not okay with, but this person is the person that is dropping money. If money does not come, who will pay house rent? When we get money to eat, when we get money to not be say I support her more, not be say I like her like that, so but that's what we say. Maybe just shall manage her like that. Let's just manage it like that, right? So that definitely also plays a huge factor, right, when it comes to it. But we've also seen cases where even if you're the one providing for the family, right, nobody wants to have anything to do with you, right? Because of that fear of also isolation from the community, right? Because what we also need to understand is that as people, families, we don't live alone. We live within a community, and there's this need to want to fit into what these societal expectations and standards of that community, larger society is, right? And you don't want to be that one who everybody will say, now you're picking, right? You don't want to be ostracized from the community. You don't want to be set aside from church, especially from church, especially. You don't want to go to church and imagine you are with the women's society in the church, and maybe your mother is even the one leading the society. Thank you. You not say that I should support you. That you are what? No, we pray and bind and cast. The evil spirit that is in you and all that. So that's also a valid fear and concern that a lot of parents, families have. Right? They don't want to be isolated from their community, and that's what happens with cultural and religious beliefs. Right? When they tend to inform decisions. That we take. All right. So to round this conversation up, what do you feel are the positive impacts that would happen if we have a society that is full of so much filled with community support and family support for the LGBTQI plus persons? So the first thing I always say is that we are all human beings. Okay. Everybody's human, first and foremost, before your state of origin, age, sex, religion, culture, whatever, right? We are humans. And as humans, right, we have a duty and an obligation to respect who that human being is. Not who we think they are, not who we assume them to be. Okay. Who they tell us they are. The same way I tell myself when I say, oh, I'm an heterosexual person, I'm somebody who wants to, I'm sexually attracted to the males, right? Okay. And you have to accept it. Because I have told you that this is who I am. Why do you have an issue with accepting somebody else's reality or identity? Like, it's not going to affect the money in your account. It's not going to affect the food that you eat. It's not going to cause harm to you in any way. So why is that a problem? So I feel like the first thing is respect for human life, human dignity. Okay. Because if you have respect for human life and you have respect for human dignity, you will not do anything to cause harm to that person. And for every time you discriminate or stigmatize against someone because of their sexual orientation, their age, their gender, and I'm saying this because this is not just only about LGBTQI plus persons, right? There are different stratas to discrimination. As a woman, I go through so many discriminations just because of my sex, me being a woman, right? So, regardless of all of those different stratas that define you as a person, the moment you stigmatize or discriminate anyone based on that, you're causing them harm. You're leading someone to certain thoughts, and you're leading someone to start considering them want to take their lives. Okay. And you've gone against, as I said, that fundamental, which is respect for human life and human dignity. The second thing is empathy. We live in a society where nobody cares about the next person. We are very selfish. We only think about ourselves and what we want. Sure. And if it's not what we want or what we say it should be, then it doesn't matter. Exactly. It's not my business. It doesn't concern me. And that's why you see videos of somebody humiliated, beaten, disgraced, embarrassed, and you're saying things like, the person deserves it. Where did our empathy go to? I mean, forget whatever. Somebody is going through that level of humiliation, pain, and the only thing you can think of is that person deserves it. They should have done more. Thank you. Right? So, we need to begin to empathize more, right, with people. And then the last thing is, nobody is an island of knowledge. We learn every day. These things that we hold so dear to us were taught by somebody else. It was brought down by somebody else. All of the things that we hold so dear to us, even religion that we hold so dear to us, not we start religion. Like, it was brought down by our colonizers, right? Yeah. That we've become such a huge custodian of. Right? So, all of these things are, it's a learning process. Right? It's information that you're getting, that you're learning. I'm not saying that you should become an LGBTQI plus person. I'm not saying you should even date or be in a relationship with LGBT. I'm sure LGBTQI plus persons not even, they have the kind of people that they want to be in relationships with, and they want to, right. Everybody has standards. Just the way as a heterosexual person, I have what I want and what I don't want, in a relationship. So in the same way they do as well, right? So it's not like anybody is forcing anything down your throat. But what I'm just simply saying is that let us find ways to peacefully coexist, right, within the society. And that can only happen, as I said, when we show love, care, respect. Those three things.
I'm very emotional right now, but then again, so lastly, let's talk about strategies for allyship. Yeah. How do we as a community strategize? How do we as service providers strategize? How do we as community members also listening strategize to let me not use the word win more allyship or just get to that state where at least we have people who we can actually turn to if we want to make certain moves.
So I think the first thing to allyship is to ask. Okay. It's good when you're so like, oh, this thing is something that you're so bothered about, concerned about, and you really want to do something about it, or you want to do something to change the situation of things, right? But then the most important thing is you have to ask. Because you're not within that community. Mm-hmm. It's not your lived experience. You don't know. So you can't assume. So the best strategy I always say is to ask. Mm-hmm. Ask the community, what do they need? What do they want? What do they need you to do with them, for them? Ask. Don't assume. Don't come up with something just out of the blue. Ask. Right? It's extremely important. That's the first thing when it comes to allyship. The second thing is go at the pace at which you are allowed. Okay. If they say, oh, we want you to do ABC, do ABC. Don't do ABC, D, F, G, H. Because you will now go there now and want to take over the space and dominate the space. You are the expert. Yes, we know you are the expert. But remember, it's not your lived experience. True. You're only providing expertise from external, what you've read, what you've done research on, what you've studied, blah, blah, blah. But these are people's lived realities. True. This is what they are going through every single day. You're not going there to go and dominate space. It's not your space, right? So go at the pace at which you are allowed. Ask questions. What do they need? What level of support do they need? If you're within a sphere of influence where you can make certain changes, right? Oh, I'm going to be at this scene where key policies are going to be developed. Ask them, what do you want me to say when I get there? If they're not going to be able to get into that space, or if you won't be able to get them to get into that space, you're in a very strategic position. Ask. Oh, I'm going to be at this, meeting where policies are going to be developed. Tell me what you want me to push. Right, on your behalf. So ask them, and also, as I said, go at the pace at which you are allowed. Also use your sphere of influence as much as possible to try to make change happen. Yeah. Everybody has their sphere of influence. True. No matter how small it is, whether it's your social media platform, whether it's your immediate circle of friends, whether it's the community you live in, whether it's even your family. You're watching a movie and a question comes up, oh, this person, they should have beaten the person more. And then you that say, yes, this person should have been beating blue, black, red, white. That was an opportunity for you to provide information. For you to correct, reorientate, and say, you know what, but this person is a human being. Right. Would you be happy this is done to you, or done to your sister, or done to your brother, or done to your friend? That's a teaching moment. Use it. True. So when I talk about influence a lot of the time, people think it's only when you are the indie, you have one big position. No. Wherever it is that you are, you do have a sphere of influence. So use that sphere of influence. And then the last thing I will say, I always say this thing anywhere I go. Because a lot of people always have issues with it. Address them how they want to be addressed. True. End it there. I know it's not something you are used to. You're not comfortable with it. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. If they said he, she, he, her, he, him, is he, him. She, her, she, her. They, them. They, them is they, them. Don't try to understand it. Don't even try to question it. Don't even try to figure it out. It's like when you just say to somebody and you tell the person that, oh, my name is Elizabeth, but I want you to call me Lizzie. Right? Or my name is Elizabeth, but I want you to call me. Or when people ask you questions like, oh, my name is Elizabeth Talatu William, which name would you prefer me to call you by? And I tell you, oh, I prefer Talatu. I prefer Elizabeth. It's the same thing. Nobody now asks you, why do you want me to call you Talatu? Why do you want me to call you Elizabeth? Why can't I call you Eliza or call you Elise? No. You don't ask all those questions, right? True. So why should you ask when it comes to that as well? Call them by the pronouns that they want to be called. It's as simple as that. I feel like sometimes we give ourselves unnecessary stress where we shouldn't, right? And it's okay as well when you falter. I mean, I do sometimes, right? But that self-consciousness to realize that, oh, you did. You quickly, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And then you go back. Is that intentionality? That's what matters, right? That's what matters. So I think those things that I mentioned extremely, extremely important.
Thank you.
You say you want to be an ally. Be a good ally, because there are different kind of allies.
Yeah, that's true. This will be a topic for another day. All right, thank you so very much, Elizabeth. You really done justice to family and community support and in inclusive allyship. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners have learned a lot. So if you have to be an ally, be the ally that you should be. Work at your pace. Do not overshoot. Ask questions to know, make findings, inform people. Change the stereotype. Change people did not choose to be like this. Yeah, it is who they are, and so you have to understand that. And thank you very much. We hope to have you again soon.
Yes, please.
Hope to have you again soon.
I'll be happy to come back.
Thank you. All right, that has been our time on Full Spectrum podcast, and we believe that you've learned a lot. Till we meet again, please do well to subscribe and follow our social media page for more information. I remain the Q Voice. See you next time.
Bye.